Hi students, Ms. McKittrick here. I wanted to take the opportunity to make a little video to go over the correct answers from your assignment from yesterday. And then what I want you to do is after you watch this video, go back to yesterday's assignment, make your corrections, and then use that assignment on the quiz that we're going to take today. Once again, use that assignment on the quiz. There's no reason you shouldn't be getting a 10 out of 10 on these quizzes when you have all the correct answers. So to review, we are going to be talking about cellular respiration. As a reminder, the reason we're learning about this is because we need to learn about cellular respiration because it's the process used by all living things to convert or change our food, specifically sugar, into usable energy called ATP to keep us alive. The reason we're learning about this is why you have energy to be alive today. This is why you can listen to what I'm saying and do your homework and play video games and move around your house and breathe and have a heartbeat. So that's why we have to learn about it. Now, if we scroll down to our chart, okay, we talked about this yesterday. There are 3 stages in cellular respiration. So that first question, what process is being shown in the diagram above? Sorry, it keeps clicking up to the top. What process is being shown? The process of cellular respiration. Okay. What structure or part of the cell does this happen in? If you look back at the top, it takes place in the mitochondria. That's the structure in here that looks like this orange bean-shaped structure. Now, if an organism doesn't have a mitochondria, which some things don't, like bacteria, they can still go through this process. They'll just only go through the first step, just this step 1, if you don't have a mitochondria. Okay. The next question was, what is the name of the 3 stages? And the names are right here: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and the electron transport. So for question number 3, what are the names of the 3 stages? We got glycolysis, which means simply to break sugar. Sugar is called glucose. We got the Krebs cycle. I'm not really sure why it's called the Krebs cycle, probably named after the scientist that discovered it. And electron transport, if I got into the nitty-gritty details, it has to do with electrons and moving electrons around. Okay, so 3 stages. Stage number 1, stage number 2, and we got stage number 3. Okay, our first 3 questions are now complete. This is the process of cell respiration, takes place in the mitochondria, and we have the names of our 3 stages. We go to the next page. The next page says, what stage takes place in the cytoplasm or the yellow part of the cell? That is the first stage, glycolysis. Cytoplasm literally just means empty part of the cell. And in our picture, it's represented by all of the yellow. So anything in yellow. So this whole stage up here, all yellow, that's the part in the cytoplasm. And then the next 2 stages take place in this orange bean structure, which is called the mitochondria. So those stages are the Krebs cycle and the electron transport. Now, the next part of our assignment is going to ask us to do reactants and products. Remember, the reactants are the arrows going in and the products are the arrows coming out. This is going to be the main part of your quiz, so I would really pay attention to the answers as we go over them. First part asks us, what are the reactants and products of glycolysis? So if I go back to our picture and I go to the first stage, glycolysis, glucose or sugar is the arrow pointing in. Those are the reactants. And for the products, we have 2 of them, pyruvic acid and ATP. Remember, ATP is just another word for energy that your body can use. So if we go to the chart, our reactants was glucose, which is another term for sugar. That arrow was going in. And then the arrows coming out was 2-pyruvic acids. Oops, I left out a V in there. And 2 ATPs. Let me scroll down so you can read that. 2 pyruvic acids and 2 ATPs. Going back to the picture, the next step, Krebs cycle. The interesting thing about this one is what we made in the last cycle, these pyruvic acids, they're actually going into the next step. So what we made here, we're going to use in the Krebs cycle. Now the products for this one, there's a lot of things that are made. We have more energy, 2 ATPs. We have carbon dioxide gas. This is why you breathe out carbon dioxide gas. It's a waste product. And then finally, we have NADH and FADH2. You don't really need to understand what these are, just know that they're made in the Krebs cycle. And the reason we need them is they are then going to go into the last stage, and we're going to use them to make more or to convert more energy. So going back, all right, our next stage, what did we start with? Interesting thing is we started with what we ended with in the stage before it, 2 pyruvic acids. And what we made was 2 ATPs, 2 units of energy. We made carbon dioxide. That's why you breathe out. We made NADH and FADH2. So we made a lot during that Krebs cycle. Going back to our picture, let's go to the last stage. What's interesting about the last stage is what we made in this stage. The stage before it is going into the last stage. So our reactants are NADH and FADH2, and you have to be careful. This down here is where the oxygen comes in. This is why we have to breathe when we're going through this process. And the 2 products that we make are water. That's a waste product. This is why you urinate and sweat. And notice 32 ATPs. That is a lot of energy. That is the reason we want to get to this step, because this is giving us the most energy possible. So finally, like I said, this is where your oxygen comes in, the NADH and the FADH2. And the 2 big things we make are 32 ATPs. That is the goal of the whole thing. And we get some water as a leftover. Okay. Now, what happens if you don't breathe? What happens if you don't add oxygen here? What ends up happening is if you don't put in oxygen at this step, this last step, you can't go, you can't go through this last step. And if you can't go through this last step, then you're not going to get as much energy. This is when your muscles cramp. You've ever gotten a muscle cramp? Or this is like if you're working out and all of a sudden you hit the wall and you run out of energy. It means that you're not breathing enough. And if you're not breathing enough, your body can't go through this last process and get all this energy. So it just runs out of energy faster, and your body, your muscles kind of just start to shut down. Okay, next question. What product of cell respiration is released into the air as a waste product? So what are we breathing out, in other words? So I know off the top of my head that we breathe out carbon dioxide, or CO2. If you needed to use the chart to find that, I would look for something coming out that's a gas. So ATP, not a gas, ATP, not a gas. Here we go. CO2 is a gas. We're getting rid of it. Therefore, that's the answer. Next question, in which stage is the most ATP created? Well, I just kind of talked about that. The whole point of this process is to get to the last stage. And in the last stage, we make 32 ATPs. So which stage? The last one, which is called electron transport, makes the most ATPs. And then how many total do we make? So if we go back to our chart, we have 2 from stage 1, we have 2 from stage 2, and we have 32. So 2 plus 2 plus 32 is 36 units of energy. So that is our goal, to get all 36 out of the food that we eat. So going down to these conclusion questions, why is it important? Think about what it gives us and how it helps keep us alive. The big thing to think about here is how we convert energy in food into usable energy in our body, which is called ATP. Okay, without this process, we would have no energy to keep us alive. So when we talk about down here, would there be life on Earth? I'm going to give you a big hint. 2 letters, NO. The other thing to realize about this is that all living things go through this process. So if we didn't have cellular respiration, we wouldn't have anything living or alive. I hope this video helps you. Please go back to your assignment from yesterday. Please check your answers with my answers. Make sure all of this is written down. Then keep that document open. And as you take your quiz today over this picture, use it to help you on the quiz. If you need any help, let myself or Mr. Hill or Mr. McKittrick or Ms. Perez know. Good luck.